a string class that is starts with ignore case and ends with ignore case. That means we just add ignore case with it. So what happens then? For example, if I write like this, so Anil, because it is in small letters, and Anil that I'm looking for is also in small letters, starts with will work true, will work fine. But suppose if I write it this way, this is not going to work fine. Why? Because the string, sorry, इसमें तो अखिल Anil है. Let me make it as Anil now. Okay, so both are Anils, but this Anil is in small letters and this Anil has A in capital letters. So it is not going to work fine. So this is not going to work. So with the starts with or ends with, in case you want to look for a string which and you are not bothered about case, you will just add ignore case with it. So that means the method actually becomes starts with ignore case. Similarly, it becomes ends with ignore case like this. Okay, so that means when you write ends with ignore case, it will actually look for Sharma. It doesn't matter whether Sharma is in capital letters, small letters, or whatever. It should be Sharma, that's all. So does it make sense, guys? Can we go further?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Everybody, okay. Now similarly, there is an equals ignore case also. So suppose I write apple dot equals apple. If I write this, what is this going to return? True or false?
True.
True. This is going to
True.
return true. This is going to return true. You know this, we can do this, isn't it? We can actually invoke a method using a string in double quotes also. You don't need to have a string like this. String object. आप string भी use कर सकते हो ऐसे. So there is no problem. So, all right.
Sir,
Now,
which method are we calling in this line number 19?
line number 19, the method is equals. And the object that is calling is a constant apple. Now suppose I want to look. Yes, beta.
So I did not understand why did we use apple dot equals apple this function? Why are we using a string to call this function?
Why are we just to take an example here? Just to take an example here. So what I normally used to do was string a is equal to apple. I used to do it this way, and then I used to write s dot apple over there. All right.
Okay.
Okay. So what I am trying to do tell you is this is another variation that you can do. That means you don't need, if you are just testing something, you don't need to create a string object. You can use the constant over there and do it. Okay. That was Kritan, is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now this is going to return false now. False means why? Because this apple has a small a and this apple has a capital A, and both of them don't have the same value. I'll talk about these values later. Now, if you want to check for two strings for equality and you are not bothered about whether they are in capital letters or small letters, so what you are going to do is, again, just like starts with ends with, you are actually using ignore case. So when I use ignore case, it is going to give me true. Why? Because both of them are actually apple, and because I'm using ignore case method, it is not going to check the capital and small. It is only going to check whether this is apple and whether this is also apple.
Sir, ignore case means that ignoring the uppercase and the lowercase.
Yes. Ignore case anywhere, whether you do it with starts with, ends with, or equals, or compare to, everywhere it will actually ignore the case. It will only look for the characters. It will not look for capital or small, which is also important. For example, let me take an example. When you open your Gmail account, you write down your username, isn't it? And you write down your password. Okay. The username is written as rskora@gmail.com. Can you mute somebody who has unmuted?
Sir, your voice is coming very less.
Very less because somebody has switched on his mic, his or her mic. Okay, now it's fine. So password is suppose ABCD EF. This is my password. Now remember, when we actually write our Gmail, the email address and the passwords, it is basically going to check somewhere whether in the database the username is written as rscora@gmail.com, and the password is also going to be checked as ABCDEF. Now this is in the database and this is what I entered. When we enter the username, it actually does not matter whether I write this in capital letters or small letters. If I write the username as rscore@gmail.com, is it going to give me a problem?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, it is
No,
not going
sir.
to give me a problem. Why? Because it is actually comparing only the string, whether it is actually rscore@gmail.com. It does not matter whether it is capital or small. So this will actually return a true to me. Okay. Why doesn't? Because it does not matter. But when we actually check for password, suppose F is, I write it in small letters and in my database it is EF capital letters. Is it going to? Yes.
False.
False.
It is going to
Yes,
give
sir.
false.
It is case sensitive.
Yeah. Now tell me, which function was used to compare these two? Equals or equals ignore case?
Equals ignore
Equal
case.
ignore.
Equals ignore case. Why? Because the system is not bothered about whether you write your email address in capital letters or small letters. It is only bothered about what you have written, what email ID was it. But when it comes to password, it has to make sure everything is written exactly as it is in the database. So if it is capital F in the database, I want a capital F in the entry also. And because this is exact, the case also should matter. So I will use which function here?
Dot equals.
Equals.
Dot equals.
Right, we will use equals here. Okay, and in the upper one we will be using
Equals
equals.
ignore case.
Ignore.
All right, does it make sense, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Good. Now the only function left now is compareTo. compareTo ignore case actually is going to work exactly like compareTo and with the ignoring of the cases. Now, did you see what equals ignore case and equals were returning? Did you see that?
They were returning true.
Boolean.
Boolean.
Value.
They were
True or
returning,
false.
yeah, they were returning Boolean, that is true or false. compareTo is actually is returning an int. All right. First of all, if I have A and B as strings, okay, so these are basically two strings and I want to compare them for inequality. Now for equality I have this equals and equals ignore case. If you want to compare them for equality, you can do with equals and equals ignore case. But if you are comparing for inequality, for example, A is greater than B or A is less than B or anything of that sort, then you cannot use equals function. Then you will have to use something like compareTo function.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, beta.
Sir, how can we, sir, say that this string is greater than other string?
Okay.
In terms of its
All
length?
right. Let me finish my work. Then we can say. So when I say A is greater than B, what does A is greater than B actually means? That means A. This comparison basically is called as lexicographical comparison. Okay. Lexicographical comparison. It is basically as you would have it in the dictionary, right? Okay, so that means however you have it in the dictionary, this is going to compare that way. For example, if A is actually hello and B is actually alpha, which one is less and which one is more? Which one comes?
Both are equal.
No, both are equal in length, but which one is less or which one
Alpha.
is more?
Alpha.
Alpha is greater.
Because in the dictionary, alpha comes first, hello comes later. So we will always say that alpha is greater than hello. Can I say this? Alpha is
We are
great.
going character wise in this.
Yes.
Excuse me, sir.
Haan ji beta.
Sir, so here the first character matters like A and H.
Let me finish, then you can answer, then you can ask me questions. Okay. Okay, Kritan. So when we have alpha and hello, we will say that alpha is greater than hello. It doesn't matter what is the length of alpha. So if suppose alpha was only A is still greater, sorry, which is greater by the way. Hello is greater than, isn't it? So if we have alpha, so alpha is less than hello. Was this what we decided, guys?
Sir, alpha comes first, so it
Alpha
should.
comes first, so that means A is actually less than B.
Okay.
Righto? All right. All right.
The
Alpha is
sir,
less than
how is alpha less?
Alpha is less than hello.
alpha is less than hello. Hello. Why? Because A alpha is actually coming in the dictionary first, isn't it?
So if alpha and z are written, so z will be greater.
Or Z will be always be greater.
Okay.
So
okay.
So what if two A's are written, then what?
I'll tell you now. So पहले तो ये देख लो comparison हो कैसे रहा है. If A is written here and this is hello, although hello is 5 letters, A is also this is alphabets and this is around 10 letters and this is only 5 letters, still alphabets will be smaller. Why? Because it is going to check only for the first ones. Now I don't say it is only going to check for the first ones. For example, this is apple and the other string is apricot. Now which is less?
Apple.
Apple. Why?
Apple.
Now you have said it.
The speed
Why?
and
Because
So we check their characters, and the third one is smaller than.
yes. अब देखो इसमें जो first two letters are AP in both the cases. So which is the letter which is different? That is P, and P comes before R. So we will say that apple is less than apricot.
Okay, sir.
Right? All right.
Sir.
Yes, beta.
Sir, when we are also comparing using double equal to, so that comes in equal dot equals or this only.
Double equal to will never be used with strings.
Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
हाँ जी बेटा.
If we write hello on both sides, then what will be printed?
Will be. I have not told you how. What is it going to return? That what is that int going to be? Okay, I have just told you how, which one is lesser or which one is greater, and how do you figure out which one is lesser, which one is greater.
Okay,
Right?
sir.
Right.
Sir.
Okay. Yes, beta.
In the equals function, how many equal to will be used? Only one or two?
In the
Equals function, like for comparison, when we write if A is double equal to B, we use two equal tos. In this, how many will be
we
used?
don't use we don't use the symbol double equal to. We use the equals function to perform that task. All right. For example, let me take an example. If you just want to compare A and B as strings, so how are you going to say? You are going to write if A dot equals B. This is what you are going to write. All right. Actually, you wanted to write if A is equal to B, but you cannot write this one. Okay, so you will have to write this one.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Now, let us understand what is that int that it is going to return. Now this is very important. That is why I kept compareTo until the end. Why? Because it takes a little time to figure out how things happen. Shall I tell you? Okay. No, I'll not tell you. Each character, can you see what I have written right now? Is it a string A or a char A?
Character.
Character.
Yeah.
Each character has an int value. Okay, and a capital A actually has a value of 65. A small a has a value of 97.
Sir, it is capital A.
Once again,
Well, this is capital.
So the
sorry.
second A is
Alright.
capital.
Capital A.
All right, it changed itself. Okay, the small a is actually has a value of 97. The capital A has a value of 65. All right. What we'll do, we'll just go to BlueJ and work on this. Let me show it to you, and then
Sir, we have to learn these values.
you don't have to. You don't have to, but you have to understand this, right?
Oops.
Just a second, I'll share my screen. Okay. Now suppose I write char A is equal to capital A. All right. And I write system.out.println. Let me name it as C so that there is no confusion. If I write C here, what is this going to display? Capital A.
Capital A.
Capital A.
Okay. Now if I write system dot out dot println and I typecast it. Okay, no, let's leave out the typecast thing. I create an int variable, say x is equal to C, and I display x here. What is this going to display?
65.
95.
No, 65.
65.
Right? It had a value of 65. Right?
So can't
A,
we typecast it?
we can typecast it. You don't worry about the typecasting here right now. Okay. So A, when you just displayed C, it displayed A. A was the value stored in it. But when you actually stored it into an int variable, so it actually stored a 65 in it. So please understand this, that when you actually create a char variable, it does not store A in it. It actually stores a 65 in it. Can I do it this way also? If I do it,
Excuse sir, can we do the other way around?
and this is what I am doing right now. Okay, I'm storing a 65 into C. And when I actually run this, it will perform the same task.
So can you show that editing terminal again? So but how?
So when I actually in C, if I store a capital A, what does it actually mean? What will be stored in C?
65.
65. So I, instead of writing a capital A, can I write a 65 also? I did this and I showed you it will actually display A here and it will display 65 here. Right?
Yes, sir.
So it does not.
Excuse sir.
Yes, beta.
Sir, X
Sir,
displayed.
if an int is having the value 65 and it is converted to a string, will it print capital A?
Yes, it will print capital A.
Like X when we convert it to string.
Only thing is X is a larger value and C is a smaller value.
Do you have any problem?
Okay, char C is equal to X. Now if I do it this way, it is going to give me trouble here. Why? Because X has a larger value, it will not accept it. So what we do is we typecast it to char. So this is fine.
Yes,
All right,
after typecasting, sir.
yeah, we have typecasted that. So it displays 65 and 8.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Right? Okay. So the basic thing for char is basically when we actually store char, it actually stores char C is equal to A C. All right, it actually stores a number. So if I write C++ and now if I display C, what is it going to display?
Sir, B.
B. It is going to, logically speaking, it will display B. So it displays A and B, right? So guys, what do we understand from here? In a character, when we actually in a char variable, when we store a character, single character, it actually is stored as a number and it is treated like a number. So you can do C++, you can divide it, you can multiply it, you can do whatever with it. So C is actually a numeric variable, but because it is actually char, so when we display it, it doesn't actually display it as a number. Sorry, it doesn't display it as a number, it displays it as a character. Make sense? One more. For C is equal to A, C is less than or equal to Z, C++, plus plus and I display this. What is it going to display?
Sir, A to Z.
A to Z.
A to Z, all the characters. So if I compile and run it, it displays A to Z, all the characters. Make sense?
Sir, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, now we know that the chars actually have int values associated with them. All right. So when I use, for example, apple dot compare to apple, what is this going to return? It actually returns apple minus apple. All right. Basically, it tries to return apple minus apple. So A is the same, so there is no problem. B is the same, the second P is the same, L is the same, E is the same. So if there is no difference, this whole thing is actually going to return a 0. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. So when I write apple dot compare to I'll write both of them in capital letters. Okay. All right. What is this going to return? Because the first two letters are exactly the same, it will actually return P minus R. Right? It will
So why
return.
minus?
I told you it is P minus R.
No, sir, why?
Why? Because I told you it is going to give me the result of the difference between the first string minus the second string.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, beta.
Also, when the two strings, so can we change the value of the int which is returned, the value of it?
No, your voice is breaking.
So am I audible now?
Yes.
Sir, I'm saying that in the line number 37, you have written apple dot compare to apple and it will return a 0. So
Why?
instead of returning a 0, can we change this value?
No. This value.
Okay, sir.
This is what
Yes,
it is
sir.
returning. If you change the string, it will change this result value.
Okay.
Okay, Kritin, what were you asking?
Sir, I think that as sir R is bigger, capital R is bigger than capital P. So, sir, won't it be R minus P?
No, it is always the first letter first minus second.
Okay, sir. So it will be in negative number. No?
It will be a negative number now. So it is actually going to PQR. It is going to return a -2.
Okay,
Understood? Okay. Now
Sir,
suppose
how it is returning -2?
why P minus R is 2 letters ahead, isn't it?
Yes.
P के बाद Q आता है, Q के बाद R आता है. So there is a difference of 2, and because P is smaller, it will return a -2.
Okay, so where it meets the that difference, so it will calculate from there.
Yes, it will calculate from there only. It will calculate only that single character. Okay. All right. Suppose the second was this. What is this going to return?
+2.
It will return a +2. Are we okay? Now.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now when is a negative number returning? When the first one
When the first
Is
number is
smaller
smaller
than
than
the
the
second one.
is smaller than the second one. Can I say that A is less than B?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What is this? A is greater than B.
Greater than B.
Alright. अब इस सारी कहानी को छोड़ दो. अभी तुम ये सोच लो कि अगर मैंने चेक करना है कि if A is greater than B, if I want to check this, what am I going to write? I am going to write if A dot compare to B is greater than 0. Why? Because A will be greater than B only when A has a larger value, and naturally it is going to give me a positive number. Make sense?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, understood. Here we can use it as a boolean.
Yes. Now I'm going to put all the different conditions. So if I actually want to write A is less than B, I will write less than 0. Does it make sense, guys?
So, but in the second
Yes.
one, why aren't we writing b is greater than 0? Why b is less than 0?
अभी बताता हूँ. अगर मुझे greater than or equal to b check करना है तो I'll write greater than or equal to 0. If I want to write it as A is less than or equal to B, I will write it as less than or equal to 0. And if I want to use not equal to B, I will actually use not equal to 0. Can you see that I'm using the same symbol that I actually, and here I will use equal to. So I'm actually using the equals function wala B because it is actually going to return a 0 to me. So if this compare to function returns a 0, that means both the things are exactly the same. Right?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, beta.
Sir, these compare to functions are to be accompanied by the if.
Of course, compared to, why would you use compared to? Compared to is basically used when you are comparing, and when you are comparing, you are actually making a decision, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
What will you do with that number? So what are you going to do with this -2? I don't want a -2. I don't want how far it is behind or how far it is beyond. I don't want that. This number is basically used only to figure out whether it is a negative number, means the first one is smaller. If it is a positive number, means the first one is larger. So simply put, पहली तो बात है कि difference return करता है. This is what you need to understand, this part. And secondly, you need to understand that if you are actually performing these tasks, you are not actually writing is if A is greater than B, you will actually use if A dot compare to B is greater than 0. So that means you will actually compare this function call with a 0, and you will use the same symbol that you would normally use with the comparison. And you saw this. If I'm actually doing a less than or equal to, I will say less than or equal to 0. If I'm actually saying not equal to B, I'm using not equal to 0. Make sense?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, beta.
Sir, using that dot equals function is better, or that last here if we a equal to.
Both are the same, beta. Both are the same. Yeah.
Sir, line number 42, please explain again. Why are we writing less than 0?
When we are actually comparing A is less than B, why when A is less than B? Is this the case where A is less than B?
Yes, sir.
And what is it actually returning?
-2.
-2 is less than 0?
Yes.
Yes. So we
Okay,
have
okay, I got it.
right. Okay, now one more case. For example, if I have a string which contains apple and another string containing apples. Now this has gone beyond apple, isn't it? This has gone beyond apples. See, yes. Apples has gone one more than this. Okay, so what is this going to return? This is going to return a -1. All right. When the two strings are actually the same, for example, this is actually exactly the same, and if I just add one letter to it, see, अब apple तो compare हो चुका है इस apple के साथ. Now, what will it compare S with? Can it compare S with anything?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, it cannot compare S with anything. So it returns a -1. So -1. अब इसमें actually character comparison. Yes, beta.
If that if it only if the numbers are equal, like 6 and 6 digit both on the side, then it will compare, else it will return -1 or a positive value.
I'll just explain. Let me explain. When two strings are the same and actually the string finishes before the second string has finished. So when this kind of a thing happens, it returns a number which is actually comparing the lengths of the two. You will find -1. Why -1? Because apple has the length 1 less than apples. Okay. For example, this had been applets. What would it be now?
-2.
-2. right? And if I write applets, and the second one is actually is apple, it is
2.
actually going to return a 2.
2.
Again plus 2, but again it is going to say that this is actually the larger one. Don't you think that is the larger one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because this is returning a positive number, that means the first string is actually the larger one. So when one string finishes before the next string starts, it will actually compare lengths. Now there is no character to check. All right. What is going to happen if I write this?
-9. -8.
This is how many characters? This is 9 characters. So this is actually going to return a
-8.
right. This -8 does not have, this is not the difference in the characters as we did here. This 2 was actually the difference between this P and this R. Now this -2 or 2 or -8 is not actually any character difference, it is the length difference now. Am I clear here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, lastly, compareToIgnoreCase is actually working the same way as compare, but it actually does not check whether it is capital letter or small letter. So there is no difference. It actually compares both of them as same. Right, Joe?
Should be, sir.
Yes, beta.
Sir, if we have to compare two strings, so if either of the two is capital and the other one is in cursive, so if the ignore case is there, so what is the default value going to be? Like it is going to be cursive or capital, and then it is going to be compared.
If I write this and if I use normal compare to, what is it going to return? It is going to return this P minus this P. Don't you think so?
Yes, sir.
And this is going to be 32. The difference between any capital letter and small letter is actually 32. So just make that note also. And if I use an ignore case, in this case, ignore case will actually return a 0. Why? Because there is no difference between the two if you ignore the cases. It will treat both of them as capital letters or both of them as small letters. Right?
So, sir, it will always return 0 if both the characters are same in equal in number in both the strings.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. All right. It's 11:35 now, and we need to finish this class. We have concluded with all the methods. Okay, we have concluded with all the methods.
Huh?
Now we need to work on how to use them in programs. Yes, beta.
Sir, sir, can you please scroll a little up? Sir, when you have used in the functions, when you were explaining that you had written in the bracket string str. So what was that str that you had written at the very beginning of this?
This one?
Yes, sir.
This is just a name. It doesn't actually matter.
Okay, a string name. Okay.
I'm just using a string here, so you need to give the string a name.
Okay,
That we do there. Okay. Okay, I have the test prepared for you. When do you want to take the test? I cannot do it in my class. So what time is suitable for all of you? What time do the classes finish? What time do the classes finish?
So 11:40.
11:40.
Today 1:35
1:35.
class will finish.
1:35.
1:35. Okay, can I make it from 2 p.m. to for around 10 minutes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So I
Sir,
will.
please send the message on WhatsApp, sir, before
Yes.
taking the test.
Yes.
Before taking the test, I'll send the message. I'll send the link also before that time. Right?
So, but can you
Okay,
like keep the test open and close it till, sir? Because no, sir, you just please remind us for the
Yes.
test, sir.
I'll remind. I'll remind. I cannot keep it open like that. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, guys. I'll see you next time now.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
Yes, sir.
Bye.